why should you read textbooks in 2025 in this AI age. What's the point of reading book if I get everything online, and if there is a beneficial to it, then why everyone is not reading it? The rich getting richer. I mean, the senior is getting more out of AI compared to the junior dev because they don't have much fundamental knowledge about it, how it works. But senior knows it and they use it in very right way. So just tips and tricks give you an illusion that you have learned something, but in the long run, understanding the deep concept is what matter most. Hello everyone, my name is Bronze Rashid, and in this video blog I'm going to talk about why should you read textbooks in 2025 in this AI age. Now, whenever I say someone to read textbook to improve their technical knowledge, the most common question they ask is, what's the point of reading book if I get everything online, and if there is a beneficial to it, then why everyone is not reading it? And let's say if I'm interested, how do I solve problem of reading more textbook? So this is the blog I wrote in the beginning of this year to answer all those questions. So usually, like New Year started, people have a different resolution to go to gym, because in January gyms are full, dietitian are on high demand, and then many goals and resolution are made to improve yourself. But what I would suggest that if you're a programmer, then I think one of the resolution you should have in 2025 is to read more textbook and more technical book. And by tech book, I doesn't mean like learning Android, React, Flutter, or any other framework related book, but more of a timeless concept book, which basically explain solid principles, concept, dependency management, testing, separation of concern, how things get integrated, and all those timeless and more fundamental concept. So just keep in mind what I mean by technical book is those timeless software books and not framework specific books. So yeah, I mean, whenever I say, the first question is, what's the point of reading a tech book if I can get everything online? Everything is free online. I mean, education is pretty much free nowadays. But you need to understand that whatever you are consuming online, that online content is just teaching you how to use in a framework API. When I say to read books, many developer thinks that, oh, why to read books? Everything are there in official documentation. I can go through the YouTube tutorial. There are online courses, but all those resource serves unique purpose, and this is what I'm trying to explain from this graph. That from my experience, based on when I started my career, I rely really highly on YouTube, which I see that the value of YouTube is very high in the beginning of your career, and once you get more experience, it's just plateau, because whatever you're trying to looking at, it's already, I mean, common problems are already solved when you know it, but the harder problem you cannot find it. So YouTube and official documentation solve immediate problem what you are trying to look for, and some online courses also teach you that in a systematic manner. But book are designed for long lasting value here. And if you see the blog is a constant, like whatever framework is updated, the blog is updated based on that. And then the book, when you start reading the books, you don't find much value in it, but over the experience, if you get more experience, the value of reading those books really gets paid off. And why, I'll talk more about later. And then the last thing, which I is basically is a common theme, that if you build something yourself, any side project, any product, or anything related to software, you will learn a lot regardless of your experience. So if you are a junior dev and you have built a lot of stuff, you might have more knowledge compared to the experienced dev who have just worked on only one kind of a product or a software. So yeah, and many majority online courses just target specific framework. They basically teach you how to install a framework, CRUD operation, updating UI, how to deploy on something devices, or framework API. So their unique selling proposition is that they basically organize all those things in a systematic manner so you can learn it, and they deserve to get paid for it because they have systemized it and make it easy for you to learn it. But here the problem is that we misunderstood that systematic learning as the actual learning. We misunderstood this API learning as a deep learning. So we don't learn deep through that courses. We just understand how this API work and how I can get around with it. Now the problem with all of this thing is that now you know how the APIs and framework works, there is a, if you want to do something, there is a method or a function or a package which does that. But what would happen if you want to achieve something which is not in the package? There is no function for it, no tutorial for it. So how we are going to do it? And that's where the deep learning comes into the picture. And because of this online, all those things, developer usually have a shallow knowledge compared to deep knowledge. Those online, all those things, I'm not against it, because I also use day in, day out. It's very helpful, for getting things done. If I'm trying to find something, it's there already solved problem. That's it. I just copy paste and make it work. But then after copy pasting it, it's something I try to understand that why it works. I try to get under the hood of it, why it's happening. It doesn't happen that often. I use it sometime, that approach, but most of the time I try to understand things, how it works. Because if this becomes a habit, then it's a big problem, because it's create a significant gap between shallow knowledge and deep knowledge. And this has become very crucial in this AI era, because now the gap is widening so fast. So like here, the classic analogy is that the rich getting richer. I mean, the senior is getting more out of AI compared to the junior dev, because they don't have much fundamental knowledge about it, how it works. But senior knows it and they use it in very right way. So we need to bridge this gap. Another thing which gets from people assume from online content is that they always look for tips and tricks, and assume that it builds the knowledge. I was also into the same camp for my initial year. I thought tips and trick save me a lot of time, but these are just designed for a short form content, and it's just provide a surface level knowledge. As I said, that is just show you how the API or any function works. But it doesn't teach you the deep understanding of how under the hood it works. So for just one example, and this is just my real life example, is that when I was in a 10th grade, we usually have a profit and loss around question, right? And most of the students get confused on when to calculate profit and when to calculate loss. So because they didn't understand the profit loss concept, it was harder for them. So the teacher gave us a quick tip or trick, you can say, is that whenever you see total word in a question, that means there would be a profit, and if you see left, then it might be a loss. So you have to add two values, and when you see a left, you have to subtract those value, and you have to say it's a loss and it's a profit. So in the final exam, we got a question where we got both the words total and left in the same question. So most of the student get confused whether they have to subtraction or you have to do the addition, whether it's a profit or loss. So this tip tricks kind of a thing works for some certain set of the question, but when things get changed, when unexpected thing happen, when you have the both keywords, most of them couldn't answer it, because they basically lack the basic understanding of how profit and loss work, rather than understanding the subtraction and addition part of it. So just tips and tricks give you an illusion that you have learned something, but in the long run, understanding the deep concept is what matter most. So now you coming to the second part of it. Okay, now I understand things about online content. But what are the actual benefit of reading books? So the first one is that it build mental models. Charlie Munger has says that make better decision by using mental model. And how reading books is different from a mental model? I mean, mental model is basically, if you got to give an analogy in the current time, is like how the AI model works. First you collect the data. In AI, we just scrapped data from the internet. And in terms of building a mental model, we collect data by reading books in different domains. Like scrapping the whole internet, for our mental model, we read a lot of different books. Then there is a training part of it, where you train on a data set and process to understand the information which collected from the website scrapping. And in mental model, whatever we have read, we try to practice them in real life and try to understand whatever we have learned is actually working in our day-to-day work or not. And then there is a problem solving. Provide answer based on abstract idea. You ask a question and then you get an answer based on that, on the training data. And similarly, if you have read different books and you have trained your mental model around it, when you have got asked a question, you can use different model to answer that question. So just give you a few examples. So when I started building app in Flutter, I developed a mental model of declarative UI rather than Flutter specific APIs. Now I can use that same model to build app in React, Jetpack Compose and Swift UI with just minor syntax differences. Another example is that before I worked on a backend, I only knew about databases in terms of basic CRUD operation. Nothing fancy than that. However, when I read a book called Design Data Intensive Application, it opened a lot of mental model for me regarding the database design, how much things are affected, how you handle partition, how the sharding is done, how a primary key indexing and all that works, how the network, the follower leader protocol works, what if one server fail, how do you handle disk failure and all that stuff, which I didn't think before. It's now in my mental model. So whenever now I design a database schema, all those things come into my mind. Something like, where should I put my validation? Should it be at the database level, should be on a REST API level, or should be on a front end level? Now I can use this mental model in any backend technology regardless of the framework. Another example is working effective with legacy code, which I read to build my mental model around to write test for any complex code base. Another example, refactoring built my mental model to change my existing design without worrying about breaking the existing code base, any kind of code base. Test driven development, EDD, allowed me to write test before production. It does not rely on a specific framework. And domain driven design allowed me to think in a domain first mode. I could go on, but you get the point. I have a full list of on our Goodreads what book I read. You can check that out. Another benefit of reading book is rich vocabulary leads to clarity of thoughts. Now, if you ask any senior developer on advice on how can I improve as a developer, the most common advice you will get around is communication problem. It's not that the programmer don't know their stuff, it's just that they can't express things well enough. And one of the reasons is that they don't have a rich vocabulary for their profession. One of my friends says that the things you are explaining, I already know, but I didn't have a word for it to describe it. Now you know the words, I don't know the words. So that's the importance of having a rich vocabulary. There's a reel around Java Akhtar which gave a good analogy of word as a brick. The more brick you have, the bigger house you can build. So the more words you have, the better you can explain or express yourself. So if you have a rich vocabulary, writing technical books will give you a rich vocabulary, which makes your thinking and communication clear. Your argument in a PR are a lot better. The documentation will be clear. Your variable naming will be far better. You can sell ideas to a top management and you can lead more effectively. So another recent example I want to give about rich vocabulary, which I got an interesting thing, is that there was a bug posted on a Cloud saying that you are absolutely right about everything. So Cloud basically say you are absolutely right about everything. So when I went through this bug description, the guy here says that the Cloud was too sycophantic, which I don't know what that word means before. So that word basically means that behaving or done in obscure way in order to get advantage. Now, let's say if I want to create a prompt, rather than writing all of those things, if I knew the word, sycophantic, I would be having a lot of less those you are right issue. So basically what I meant to say here is that since I don't have that much rich vocabulary to explain certain words, it's very hard to write prompts. So if you know certain words or vocabulary which just have a one word but have a lot of meaning to it, you can basically describe that in a prompt and it will save you a lot of time. So this is something, a new word which I learned. And if you read more tech book, you will have more rich vocabulary like this. So now the third benefit is that get the mentor you always wanted. Whenever I was in a doubt, I always thought I wish I had some senior or some mentor which could I help all on this problem. I wish I would have learned a lot from their mistake. And this is one of the most common theme which I see when I was running my effective Flutter dev classes, that why do you want to join these classes? Most of them answers that I want someone mentor like you or someone who can help me out on my problem. So this was one of the most asked, one of the most common reasons shared to join the classes. Now each person has a limited time, hence chances of getting time from your mentor is very tough, especially when mentor is very popular and it's very in high demand. So rather than asking them for a time, what you can best do is you can learn their experience, mistakes, success and learning from the book they wrote. That's what I really do, that if I like someone or someone in the community, I try to find a book which they have written which might be more timeless concept and try to read it. And additionally, what I have failed and also got a success, that when I read some author book, and if I have a question, if I ask them directly regarding the book, they will answer me right away, because the author are also looking for a feedback. And it's a win-win situation, that if you read the book, you have a question, you ask them, they also want to improve themselves, they want to improve the book, so they will definitely answer on your question as well. So it's a win-win, everyone learns from that. Now the fourth one is become a better writer. When you read more, you can also become a better writer, and this is one of the most essential skill in the AI world. If you see a lot of video around like how they do write a great prompt and get the works done, behind the scene, actually the prompt is the part of it, but behind the scene, the thing which is working great is that the person has a writer ability to think through very specifics and write that prompt in a very specific manner. If you saw any of the video, you will see that nobody would explain how they came up with the prompt. It's just that they will say that they have written the prompt, but the hardest part on getting the prompt right is to be more specific. You should know the words, you should know the domain around it to be more specific, to define specific tasks for the AI. And as you in the software engineering world, as you climb the ladder with experience and expertise, you also need to be better communication, because at the end, whatever hierarchy you are, as you move top up, it will become a sales job for you. So you are just selling an architecture to your upper management, you are selling a feature to an upper management. So you have to have very clarity on what you want to build or what you want to go next, and you can communicate your idea very clearly through writing. And I believe this has become very essential in this AI world. Why I'm saying this? Because your output of the AI is directly proportional to the quality of the input you provide, basically your writing skills, and then based on your expertise you can verify the output. So basically AI has shortened that gap, that you are writing something and searching it and trying to mix it together. Now you can write a really good prompt and you can get the output and edit it based on your expertise. So the quality of output is directly proportional to the quality of your input. Now the third part of this section is that if reading book is so beneficial, then why everyone is not reading it? Why not everyone should be doing it? So the first common thing is that people don't have time, is one of the most common thing I get around. I ask them to read textbook, but I think time is not the problem. It's all about setting the right priority. I mean, developer can easily identify Jira ticket priority using P0, P1, P2 labels, but when it comes to self-development, there are no priorities. So all you need is just 20 minutes per day. And if you say you can't find 20 minutes a day to read, then there is a bigger problem in your day-to-day work life than the reading books. Because if you can't find 20 minutes, then something is really not right. So to me, it's just an excuse of not reading books. I mean, in Adlerian psychology, which is come from the book The Courage to be Disliked, this means that the issue is not the time. The real issue is that you have set yourself a goal not to read a book and use time as an excuse to fulfill that goal. So yeah, just read that again. I mean, you might get it. Another problem is even if you try to sit for a 20-minute, your attention span is basically messed up. I mean, the attention is the new currency, because it's becoming rare and rare, so it's becoming valuable. Everyone is so distracted that they cannot focus on a task for more than 5 minutes. There's a big problem not only for reading books, but for whole knowledge worker industry. Focus is what this generation lacks. They cannot stick to one thing for a long time, whether it's reading books, a job, a relationship, commitment, or anything else. I mean, they can't stay for a longer period of time. So the good news is that you can fix this by starting reading books, and this will actually improve your attention span and also improve your reading stamina. It won't happen in a day. I mean, in initial days, our brain muscle will swell just like how the body muscles swell when you go to the gym. But over a period of time, it will get into a shape, and your brain will also start adapting more attention span and will have more reading stamina. So I won't stretch this section further since our attention span is low. If you are looking for more concrete strategy, I would recommend reading a book called Deep Work. So there is a third part also, is that there is a short-term thinking. Short-term thinking is that if I read this book today, then I should get the result now. If it doesn't help me today, then there is no use. Hence, most developers stop reading it. And reading book is a compounding activity, which is That is why it is called eighth wonder of the world. You won't see the result in the initial days, but once it started to pick up, it will be just exponential, and it will be so much enormous that it just look like a wonder. So my theory is that you need to read at least 8 to 10 books to spark just one good idea, and that one good idea will change your career or life. The 4 section part of it, that now I get it, how do I solve this problem and read more textbook? I mean, first is that don't take this as a one-time goal, treat that as a lifestyle change. Build a habit. Don't treat reading books as a goal, that if I read 10 books in a year then I'm a reader. Rather than form this as a habit, because habit makes reading effortless. Building habit is a lifestyle and long-term change. That's why most people fail at it. This is such a big challenge that there is a guy called Alex who is running a business to solve this problem, that how he makes reading a habit for people. So you should definitely check that out. And don't have a big target, just read 10 pages per day. I read dozen of self-help and habit building book. One thing that worked for me was setting a target of reading 10 pages per day. The bar is so low that it's easy to achieve even on the day when I don't feel like reading. So if you do the math, reading 10 pages per day will have 365 days, 10 pages, so it will be around 3650 pages in a year. And now let's round it up to 3000 pages in case you miss some days. And let's say an average technical book is 400 pages, then you will be able to read around 7.5 books each year. And that's a lot compared to nothing. So yeah. One thing which I learned very late is that drop the book if you find it uninteresting. And this is a common myth that goes around in the reading community, that you have more unread books than read books. The biggest mistake that I made when forming a repeat habit is that I didn't buy new book until I finished the one. Because there is a two problem in it. One, you force yourself to even read the book you don't like, which lead to breaking the habit. And you cannot change the book if you find another topic interesting. So let's say if I'm reading a clean code and somehow I get interesting in writing testing because I read something in the clean code which talk about testing, then I have to wait to read the whole clean code book and then read testing. So that was not a good idea. So if I find a topic interesting, I should get another book on that topic and start reading it. And if I feel that okay, this is getting repetitive or boring, then I switch to another book and read that. So never just stick to one book at a time. Instead, I would suggest to have a 5-6 different book from different domain at the same time, ranging from topic like clean code, testing, project management, or even fiction. Usually having more unread book is a good thing. This keep your interest broad. So once you get a bored of one topic, you can easily jump to another while maintaining your reading streak. And the last one is take action, because action produces more information. I mean, you cannot get a six-pack abs by reading a fitness book. No matter how many online courses you take, articles you read, or YouTube videos you watch, or how many books you read, it won't matter until you move your finger and put on a keyboard and write code yourself. Until then, nothing matters. Whatever you read, try to apply in your day-to-day work. Even if it's fail, then it's fine. You will get more information on what to improve next time. So yeah, that's it. That's about this blog. If you want to check the books I read, it's on the Goodreads. You can check this link. It's in the blog. You can also check my this personal website where I write about summaries of the book I have read in my own words. So this is my way of learning and preserving things which I learned. So yeah, I mean, that's it. If you like this video, then please like, share and subscribe. Also, I have started a new workshop called Flutter with AI, where we just don't learn tools but learn workflows, which allows to ship us faster and avoid all AI related mistakes which cost hours of debugging time. So if you are interested, just click on this and fill up the form, and currently it's limited to only 10 participants. So yeah, thank you for watching, and if you like this video, then please like, share and subscribe. Thank you.